On the night of their wedding, the queen vanished. He had married her for love, a beauty so rare it could bring kings to their knees. On their wedding night, everything shatters. In the stillness of the palace, she disappears and returns with her gown torn, her body bruised, her hair tangled with dirt and blood. With trembling lips, she whispers, "Two shadows took me into the forest." The king's heart breaks, yet he cannot believe her until one night he sees the unthinkable with his own eyes. The soft glow of the morning sun spilled through the tall arched window, casting pale light across the royal chamber. King Cassian Rourke sat in a carved wooden chair near the window, his broad shoulders slightly hunched, his eyes red from a sleepless night. His gaze was fixed outside, where the first rays of dawn painted the sky in shades of gold and grey. But there was no warmth in his heart, only a deep ache that twisted inside him like a knife. He turned his head slowly, his jaw tight, and looked toward the large bed at the center of the room. Amara, Lysandra, his queen, lay there, still and fragile. Her beauty was undeniable, soft chestnut hair spilling across the pillow. Skin pale as ivory, but this morning, the beauty seemed shadowed by something darker. It had been their wedding night, the night that should have been filled with closeness, laughter, and whispered promises. Yet it had passed in a way neither of them could have imagined. The king's chest rose and fell heavily as he pushed himself up from the chair, his boots echoing softly on the polished floor. The sound made Amara stir. Her lashes fluttered, and slowly her eyes opened. A faint wince crossed her face as she tried to sit up, her hand instinctively moving to her side. Pain flickered in her expression, and she looked down at herself. Her eyes widened in shock. Her gown was torn in several places, the delicate fabric hanging loose, and faint streaks of dried blood marked the pale silk. Her fingers trembled as she touched the frayed edges. Confusion and fear rose in her chest. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood on unsteady feet. When she looked up, she found King Cassian standing there, his piercing eyes locked on her. "Where were you last night?" His voice was low but sharp, each word laced with hurt. "You are my wife, my bride. I made you my queen. From the moment I first saw you, I loved you. But I never imagined you would betray me. Tell me, Amara, why did you do this?" His words cut through her like a blade. Her lips parted, but for a moment, no sound came out. She looked away, her hands clutching the torn edges of her gown. Her eyes filled with tears, and she sat back down on the bed, brushing at her cheeks quickly as if hiding her weakness. Her eyes filled with tears, and she sat back down on the bed, brushing at her cheeks quickly as if hiding her weakness. When she finally spoke, her voice was trembling. "Last night, after the wedding celebration, you left me here in this room. I waited for you, Cassian. I waited for hours." She swallowed hard, her fingers twisting in the fabric of her gown. Then they came. Two figures, not of this world. They were shadows like death, without souls. They took me from here, into the forest. I tried to fight, I tried to run, but her voice broke. "They hurt me, Cassian. They left me there, and then they brought me back." The king's eyes narrowed, disbelief shadowing his face. "You expect me to believe that?" His voice rose slightly, more in pain than anger. "That you spent your wedding night in the arms of something else? You are lying to me, Amara. You are trying to make a fool of me." Her tears spilled freely now, falling onto her trembling hands. "It is the truth," she whispered, then louder, with desperate conviction. "It is the truth, Cassian. I swear it on my life." For a long moment, the king said nothing. His eyes moved over her torn gown, the marks on her skin, the way she shook with fear. The evidence was there before him, yet his mind refused to accept it. He turned away sharply, the weight of his cloak swirling round him as he walked toward the door. His heart ached with love for her, but the poison of doubt was already deep within him. Without another word, King Cassian Rourke stepped out of the chamber, leaving Amara alone with her tears and the heavy silence of a morning that had begun with sorrow instead of joy. Princess Amara Lysandra sat alone in the dim light of her chamber. The silk curtains barely moved. The air was heavy, too heavy. Her eyes were swollen from hours of crying. Her hands trembled as they brushed over her arms. The marks were still there, dark, cruel reminders. Her gown hung loose, the edges torn. The fabric whispered of a night she wished she could erase. She thought of him, Cassian, the man who now called her his queen, the king the entire kingdom adored. Handsome, strong, the kind of man who could silence a room with one glance. The kind of king people prayed for, but not this morning, not for her. Her lips quivered as she tried to hold back another sob. She was not born in this castle. Her home lay far away, 2 days' ride beyond these walls. If Cassian cast her out, if he ordered her death, no one from her homeland would come. Not this time. Not after last night. Her chest ached with every breath. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and forced herself to stand. The tall window drew her in. Pale morning light spilled through the glass. The same window. The same one from where they had taken her. Her fingertips touched the cold frame. The latch still hung loose. The door of the window was open just a little, just enough to let the memories slip in like a shadow. And then it pulled her under. Flashback, years ago. She was 18. Her beauty was the kind people whispered about, not only in her face, but in the way she moved, the way her laughter curled into the air. Her eyes held a light that drew people close. Men wrote verses for her. Artists painted her from memory. Suitors came from far kingdoms. Her parents guarded her like a rare jewel. But it wasn't only love that made them careful. It was fear. For beyond their lands ruled another king, a ruthless king. One who collected beauty as if it were gold. No woman of striking beauty remained free in his reach. Amara's parents hid her from public feasts. She rarely stepped into the markets. Her future was spoken of only in whispers. Then came the commander, a soldier tall and proud, the leader of their armies. His voice was deep, his gaze steady. He asked for her hand. Her parents were relieved. A husband in the army meant protection. And Amara, she liked him. The way he smiled. The way he said her name like it was a secret meant only for him. They married quietly. A secret ceremony. Few knew. Even fewer attended. The wedding night. The candles flickered in her chamber. Her gown shimmered in gold and ivory. She sat on the bed, her heart restless with new dreams. She waited and waited. Minutes crawled into hours. The air grew heavy. Still, he did not come. Her eyes grew heavy. The warmth of the room pulled her toward sleep. Then, a shift in the air. Cold. Wrong. Her eyes snapped open. 2 figures loomed above her. Tall, cloaked in shadows, faces hidden, eyes empty and endless. Her breath caught in her throat. She tried to scream, nothing came out. One gripped her arms, the other her legs. The touch was like ice, searing her skin. They dragged her from the bed. Her bare feet scraped against the stone floor. Her nails clawed at the air. Through the open window, into the cold night, the forest swallowed her whole. Trees towered like black sentinels. The air was thick, heavy with damp earth. Somewhere an owl's cry echoed. They threw her down. The ground was hard, biting into her skin. She shook her head, tears spilling fast. Please, her voice cracked. Please, let me go. No answer. Only the rustle of leaves. Pain came in waves. Her body fought to stay awake. Her mind screamed for her husband, but he never came. When it was over, they seized her again, dragged her through the trees, through the same open window. Her body felt like stone, her eyelids heavy. She fell into darkness.
When she woke, he stood there, her new husband. His arms were crossed. His face was hard. Where were you? His voice was cold. She sat up slowly, dizzy, her body aching. I was taken, she whispered. Two shadows, they came through the window. They took me into the forest. Stop. His voice cut through hers like a blade. It's the truth, she pleaded. He shook his head. I don't believe you. Tears blurred her sight. But I swear, you are a liar, Amara. A beautiful liar. His tone dripped with disgust. I loved you because of your face. And now I see there is nothing behind it but shame. She reached for him. Please listen. Enough. The words struck her like a slap. Pack your things. You are not my wife anymore. Her knees buckled. She sank to the floor, sobbing. He turned and left. He didn't look back. And on the present day, Amara's hands gripped the window frame until her knuckles turned white. That night had never left her. The shadows, the forest, the pain, the shame. She had returned to her parents after that night. No one spoke of the wedding again. No one dared. Time passed. But the memory clung to her like a scar that refused to fade. And then Cashin Rourke. The day he visited her father's palace. She was in the gardens tending to roses. She saw him before he saw her. Tall. Golden in the sunlight. Eyes like the sea after a storm. When their eyes met, it felt like the earth had stilled. She bowed, offered him a bouquet. His gaze lingered, like he was memorizing her face, like he couldn't look away. He asked for her hand before the day ended. Her parents smiled. This is your chance, they whispered. But Amara's heart was heavy. Afraid. Afraid of windows left open. Afraid of shadows in the dark. Her mother held her hands. Cashin is not like the others. You will be safe. You will be loved. She wanted to believe it. But last night the window was open again. Last night the shadows returned. The same cold. The same pain. The same silence in the dark. Her breath trembled as she pressed her forehead to the glass. Tears rolled down her cheeks, warm against her cold skin. She knew Cashin would cast her away, just like the commander before him. And this time, there would be no going home. King Cashin Rourke paced the length of his private chamber. His boots echoed against the marble floor. The candles burned low. The night outside was black as ink. But his thoughts, they were full of her. Amara Lysandra, his queen. He could still see her face from the morning, tear-stained, pale, fragile in a way that made his heart twist. And yet doubts gnawed at him. The whispers in his head would not stop. Did she betray me? Did she lie? A knock came at the door. 3 nobles entered, all smiles and congratulations. Your Majesty, one said with a grin, soon you will give us the greatest news. A son, an heir to the throne. Another clapped him on the shoulder. The queen will make you a father. The kingdom will rejoice. Cashin froze. A shadow crossed his face. A son? An heir. The words should have filled him with joy. Instead, his chest felt tight. In his mind, a cold thought whispered, "What if the child is not mine?" But the next thought was sharper, more dangerous. "I cannot let her go." Cashin's jaw tightened. He looked at the nobles. "Leave me," he said quietly. When they were gone, he stood by the window, staring at the moonlight on the courtyard stones. He thought of her laughter, the way her eyes found him in a crowded hall, the way her voice softened when she spoke his name. No, he would not lose her. He could not. He made a decision. Tonight, I will go to her. Tonight, I will promise her everything: love, safety, happiness. She will stop fearing me. She will stop hiding from me. And maybe, she will stop deceiving me. The night deepened. The moon cast silver over the castle walls. In her room, Amara Alessandra sat quietly as her maids worked around her. They brushed her long hair until it shone like silk. They dressed her in a gown of soft blue, trimmed with pearls. They placed a thin chain of gold around her neck. "You look beautiful, my queen," one whispered. Amara smiled faintly. Her heart was restless. She wanted to see him. She wanted to start again, to bury the past, to be a true wife. The maids left. Silence settled in the room. She sat on the edge of her bed, listening for his footsteps. Every sound in the corridor made her heart jump. Cashin Rourke walked toward her chambers. His steps were slow. His heart beat faster with each one. He imagined her smile, the warmth of her hands, the way she might lean into him tonight. But as he reached her door, a voice called out, "Your Majesty?" "Urgent news." A servant bowed low. Cashin's brow tightened. He hesitated. Then, with a sigh, he turned away from her door and followed the man down the hall. Inside Amara's room, she waited. Minutes turned to an hour. Her shoulders sagged. Her eyes grew heavy. The warmth of the room lulled her. She lay back, still in her gown, still waiting for him. Sleep crept over her. Then, a sound. Soft. Wrong. The window latch shifted. A cold wind slipped in. Her eyes opened. Her breath caught. Two shadows slid into the room. The same as before. Tall. Faceless. Silent. She pushed herself up. "No," her voice trembled. "Not again." They moved toward her. She screamed. "No, please, don't take me. My marriage, don't break it." "I love him. I won't leave my king." But the shadows grabbed her arms. Their grip was iron. They pulled her from the bed. Her feet scraped the floor. She kicked, fought, sobbed. They dragged her to the window. The cold night swallowed her scream. In the forest, the darkness between the trees was alive. The earth was damp beneath her. The smell of moss and smoke filled her lungs. The same place, the same pain, the same horror. And then, nothing. When she woke, her head throbbed, her body ached. Her gown was torn. Her skin was smeared with dirt. Every muscle hurt. She was back in her room. The bed looked untouched. The candles had burned low. She began to cry. Her sobs broke the silence. The door opened. Cashin stood there. His eyes widened when he saw her state. Dirt. Torn gown. Bruises blooming across her skin. Fury flashed in his gaze, hot and dangerous. But he did not shout. He did not strike. Instead, his voice was low. "Tell me, did you do it again?" Her head snapped up. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "No, Cashin, please believe me." Her voice shook. "They came again, the same shadows. They took me the same way as before." He stared at her, searching her face. His jaw tightened. Amara sobbed harder. She clutched her chest as if to hold her heart in place. And then she told him everything. Her voice trembled as she spoke of her first marriage. The commander. The wedding night. The open window. The two shadows. The forest. The shame. The divorce. Her breath came fast. Her eyes searched his desperately. "It's the same now," she whispered. They won't stop until you leave me. If you send me away, they will let me go. But if I stay, they will keep coming. They will ruin us. Cassian stood still. Her words burned into him. He saw her pain. He felt her fear. Slowly, he crossed the room. She trembled as he stopped before her. Her tears shone in the candlelight. He reached out, cupping her face in his hands. His touch was warm, steady. "I don't care who they are," he said softly. "I will protect you. I will find the truth, and I will not let you go." Her lips trembled. A sob escaped her. She fell against his chest, clinging to him. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her as if the world might try to steal her away. His chin rested against her hair. Her scent filled him. Her warmth melted the cold in his chest. He kissed her forehead. A slow, lingering kiss. "I love you, Amara Lysandra," he whispered. "No shadow, no curse. No man will take you from me."
He led her to the royal bedchamber. Tonight, he would not leave her side. Tonight, he would see for himself what haunted her nights. Amara walked beside him, her steps light but unsure. Her heart was pounding. Every few steps, her eyes flickered toward the tall window, the same window that had haunted her dreams. Inside the chamber, the fire burned low, casting a golden glow across the walls. The scent of jasmine filled the air. Cassian closed the door behind them. She stood near the bed, her hands trembling. He went to her, took her hand again, and kept it in his. "Do not fear," he said gently. "I will not touch you tonight. Not until I know the whole truth. Not until I see it with my own eyes." She tried to smile, but it was faint, almost broken. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "I only want this to end." He brushed his thumb against her knuckles, then drew her closer. They sat together on the edge of the bed. She leaned against him, her cheek resting on his shoulder. His arm came around her, holding her as if he could shield her from the world. Minutes passed. Her breathing grew slower. Her lashes lowered. The warmth of his embrace and the steady beat of his heart pulled her toward sleep. He felt her head grow heavier against him. Her hand loosened its grip on his. Soon she was asleep. Cassian looked down at her. The moonlight from the window bathed her face in silver. She looked peaceful, almost like a child. But he knew the peace was fragile, shattered easily by the ghosts she feared. He laid her down gently on the bed. He adjusted the blankets so she would not grow cold. Then he rose. He did not leave. He stood near the window, his sword in hand. His eyes scanned the room, every shadow, every flicker of light. If anything came, he would see it. If anything dared to touch her, he would cut it down. The night deepened. The fire burned lower. The moon climbed high above the palace. Hours passed in silence. Then something changed. Cassian's breath slowed. His eyes locked on something in the room. At first, he thought it was his mind playing tricks. But no, this was real. His grip on the sword tightened. He took one slow step forward. His gaze did not move. His heart beat hard against his ribs. What he saw, he could not believe. It was impossible. It should not be. And yet there it was, before his very eyes. The blood in his veins turned cold. His jaw tightened. Every instinct told him to act. But he stayed frozen. For a long, breathless moment, he simply stared. Without another word, he turned away from the bed. He walked to the door. His hand lingered on the handle for a moment. The first light of dawn was beginning to touch the palace walls outside. The night was over. Cassian stepped into the hallway. His steps were slow, heavy. He felt as if the weight of the whole kingdom was on his shoulders. What he had seen, he could not decide if it was a trick of the eye or a truth too cruel to bear. The first light of dawn crept into the royal chamber. Amara Lysandra stirred, her lashes trembling as her eyes opened. The moment she moved, pain ran through her body. Her muscles ached. Her skin burned in places where it had been scratched. She slowly pushed herself upright. Her breath caught. Her gown was no longer the perfect vision it had been last night. The silk was torn in several places. Threads dangled. The hem was stained with dirt, and dust clung to her skin. She touched her cheek. Even there, she felt the faint sting of scratches. The memory of the night was only a blur, but the heaviness in her heart told her enough. Her eyes filled with tears. Now, he will surely leave me, she thought. This time, there is no chance. She imagined the look in King Cassian Rourke's eyes when he saw her like this. She imagined the disappointment, the coldness, the quiet words of dismissal, and after that, her return to her father's house in shame. Her hands trembled as she removed the ruined gown. She dressed in a simpler one, pale cream, the fabric soft but unadorned. She brushed the dust from her hair, though no matter how much she tried, it still felt heavy and tangled. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tightly together to keep from crying aloud. When she stepped out of her chamber, her eyes were already wet. She was ready for the king's judgment, but instead of the cold anger she had expected, she saw him, walking toward her. His expression was calm. There was even the faintest smile at the corner of his lips. Her heart skipped. He stopped before her and extended his hand. "Come," he said gently. "I want to show you something." She stared at him. Why was he looking at her like this? Why no anger, no accusation? Still, she placed her hand in his. It was warm, firm. He led her through the corridors of the palace, their steps echoing against the marble floor. They reached one of the grand reception halls, the kind where the court would meet guests and ambassadors. The tall doors swung open, and Amara's breath caught. Inside stood her parents. Her mother's eyes filled with tears the moment she saw her. Her father's face softened into a smile. "Amara," her mother whispered. Amara ran to them, her gown brushing the floor. She threw her arms around them both, clinging to the warmth she had missed for so long. But then a sudden thought struck her. Her joy faltered. Why are they here? Her heart pounded. Did he call them to take me away? To send me home after divorcing me? Her throat tightened. Her mother must have felt her trembling, because she pulled back to look at her. But before Amara could speak, her father turned toward the king. "Your Majesty," he said, "why did you call us here in such urgency?" Cassian stood tall, his eyes steady, his voice calm. "I needed to ask you something," he replied. Amara's heart twisted. Her parents glanced at one another, unease passing between them. Even she could feel the tension pressing down on the room. The king's gaze shifted back to her parents. "When I married your daughter," he began slowly, "on the night of our wedding, I entered our chamber, but she was not there. She told me later that two shadows came, carried her into the forest, and hurt her. She said this happened every night. Until last night, I had not seen it myself." Amara's breath caught. Her hands curled into fists at her sides. Her heart was racing, beating so loudly she could barely hear the rest of his words. "I decided to stay in the chamber with her," Cassian continued. "She fell into a deep sleep. I kept watch. Then it began. He paused. The silence in the hall felt heavy. She rose from the bed, still sleeping. Her eyes did not open. Without a sound, she walked to the window, and then she climbed down. Amara's parents gasped softly. I followed her, Cassian said, his voice steady but laced with something softer now. I stayed far enough so she would not wake, but close enough to see everything. She crossed the palace grounds and moved toward the forest. Her gown caught on thorns and branches. The fabric tore. Her skin was scratched, and I saw the blood where the thorns cut her. But still she walked on, as if nothing could stop her. Amara's eyes blurred with tears. She walked for hours, he continued, until the forest grew dark and thick. She did not slow. Midnight came, and still she moved, as if guided by something only she could hear. Finally, she came to a clearing deep in the woods. She lay down on the bare earth, closed her eyes, and stayed there. I watched from the trees. I thought perhaps this is where the shadows would come. But no one came. Cassian's gaze softened as he looked at Amara now. She remained there for hours. Then, just before dawn, she rose and began walking back, through the same thorns, the same tangled paths. She climbed back into the palace, returned to the bed, and lay down, still asleep. The room was silent. Cassian's voice was quiet now, but every word was clear. This is what I have seen. It happens every night, I believe. But I want to know, why did something happen in her childhood? Does she walk in her sleep? Amara could not speak. She stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the floor. Her mother glanced at her father, then lowered her head in shame. Yes, her mother said softly. When she was little, she often walked in her sleep. We would find her wandering the house or the gardens. But once something terrible happened. She swallowed hard, her voice trembling. One night, 2 thieves broke into our home. They found her sleeping and they took her. They carried her into the forest, and there they hurt her. Amara's knees felt weak. Her hands shook. That night left a scar on her mind. Her mother went on. She would scream in her sleep, see bad dreams, and wake terrified. For years, we thought the fear had faded, but it seems it has never truly left her. In her dreams, she believes she is taken again, and her body, it follows the dream. Cassian was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, he walked toward Amara. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought he could hear it. She could not lift her eyes. He stopped before her. Then, he reached for her hand. His touch was warm, gentle. You are safe now, he said softly. His voice was not the voice of a king giving judgment. It was the voice of a man giving a promise. I will not send you away. I will not let shadows reel, or in your mind take you from me. Her eyes lifted to his. There was no anger there, only the steady strength she had always wished for. Tears fell freely now. She stepped forward, and he caught her in his arms. She pressed her face against his chest, feeling the slow, steady beat of his heart. Her parents watched, relief washing over their faces. The tension in the room began to fade, replaced by something warmer, brighter. Cassian held her close. His lips brushed her hair. We will face this together, he whispered. Every night, every fear you will not face it alone again. And for the first time in years, Amara felt the weight lift from her chest. The past had left scars, yes, but with him she could see a future that was not chained to it. The sun had fully risen now. Light spilled into the hall, painting everything gold. The king and queen stood together, hand in hand, the shadows of the night behind them.